Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. Well, I got a bit of extra time today and so I thought I'd make a little video here. Probably won't take that long. There's been a lot of talk lately on the forums and I had a long conversation yesterday with Grasshopper about in advance of his video of the Pearl Harbor attack, his J1 attack, of what to do with the Americans. A lot of people ask you questions about that. And there's a fierce debate going on. Where should you build? Mostly that's what the question is where should you build? Should you build in the Atlantic or should you build in the Pacific? And you know what? Don't listen to anybody if they tell you you have to do this or you have to do that. You know, there are more than one way. There's more than one way to win this game as the Allies. And you can't just... say you have to go to the Atlantic every game or you have to go to the Pacific every game, and it's got to be kill Germany first or kill Japan first. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, then eventually your play group or whoever it is that you play against is going to figure out a way to stop you. So you have to be able to do both and build both. And really ideally I think you need to go a little heavier on one side but not forget about the other side. You can't put 100% of your money on one side or the other. It's not going to work out for you, I don't think, because left alone, Japan or Germany, are either one of them is just going to become a beast. They're just going to they're going to overwhelm the rest of your side, either on the Europe side or on the Japanese side. So you're going to have to do a little bit of both. So here you take a look at the Atlantic there, and you, as the American player, you don't start off with much, right? Because you're not at war, and so the Americans hadn't built for war. And then you take a look over here, and this is what you have in the Pacific, right? And you get a little bit of stuff down there. And that's going to be lost. As soon as Japan brings you into the war, the Philippines is going to be lost. So I'm going to give you some thoughts of what you can do. The last videos that I made, one was on Sealion and the other one was on defending Sealion. And there's been a thread recently started, and it's going strong right now on axisandallies.org about what is the Americans' role in that. So I'm going to key on that. And there's also a thread that was started by Gargantua, I think last night, and it had to do with C-Zone 102. Because C-Zone 102, even when the Americans are not at war, they can put surface warships there. They can't put transports, and they can't put submarines there, but they can put any other kind of boat there. And it's kind of an odd rule because other than that, the Americans have to stay along their coastline. They're stuck to being in C-Zone 101 or C-Zone 89. Those are the only two places in the Atlantic they're allowed to be, other than the surface warships in C-Zone 102. So Gargantua was posing the question, why C-Zone 102? What can you do from there? And people have answered that, and it's been really interesting. I've been learning a bit, and I can see how that would help you defend against Sealion or even prevent it from happening. And to me, that would be the ideal thing, is preventing that Sealion attack. And you probably know, but I'll just remind you, Sealion is the attack of the UK by Germany there. So that's what you want to prevent or be able to take back if Germany has been able to take it. And the UK is not going to be able to take it back, and the only country that's going to be able to take it back is the United States. So the question is, do you take it back or don't you? Like, do you just leave it? I think you have to take it back, because if the UK player is not making any money, it's only a matter of time before the Italians take over Africa and the Middle East, and without an opponent without a partner, the Russians are eventually going to fall to the Germans and Italians, because the Germans will be coming at them from the north, the Italians from the south. They'll be coming at them from the Middle East. They'll be going up that way. The Russians will get stronger because Germany didn't go after Russia in the beginning of the game. If they went for that sea line attack, then the Russians will be will be starting the game off stronger. But the European Axis can overcome that eventually. One, they're going to get the UK's money over there. But then, without having the UK in the game on the Pacific side of the board in any real sense, it's kind of like the French. You know, the French start off with some units, but once they die, they never come back, and that's going to be the same with the UK if you lose London. So, Sea Zone 102, let's talk about that, how you can help prevent sea lion. Now, in my mind, you need to build in the Atlantic on the first turn. I usually build 2 aircraft carriers and 1 battleship. I put an aircraft carrier and a battleship in the eastern United States, and then I put an aircraft carrier in the western United States. But I'm going to try something a little bit different here, and keying on that Sea Zone 102 and keying on how to prevent sea lion from even happening. I mean, sea lion can still happen even if you do what I'm going to show you here, but I think it would be suicide for the Germans, because they're going to build 8 to 10 transports up there. They're going to have them in Sea Zone 110, and then they're going to lose them. They're only going to get 1 landing, and then that's it. So that's $56 to $70 down the drain, and the Americans are going to be able to take back London, and then the Russians are going to be strong. So Germany will be without a navy, and the Russians are going to be strong. So that's what my goal is. The Defending Sea Lion video that I put out recently shows you how to try to prevent that with the UK by making it unpalatable, let's say, for the Germans to want to go after London there. So if you combine that or some form of that with some form of the Americans having a show of strength against the UK, then that might just prevent the Germans from even attempting sea lion. And to me, that's the goal, is to prevent them from even attempting it. Now, as I was saying, you're going to want to have a presence on both sides of the board. So when you take a look at what's over here, the Atlantic is much smaller than the Pacific. And so there is a more of an immediate threat to the Americans and, of course, to the UK early in the game. Like the UK could fall on the 3rd turn there. America could fall on the 3rd turn if you're not watching what you're doing. But on the Pacific over here, you see how much larger the Pacific is. And the task that it would be to get transports over there. For one thing, Germany, once they take out France, they're going to have a big whack of money on the 2nd turn. Japan doesn't have that option. Japan's not going to get a huge pile of money on the 2nd turn. They're going to get a fairly decent income, but not enough to go and buy themselves 10 transports and come across the water. And even if they did, then Americans would see them coming and they would be able to put up a defense. And Anzac down here, they could come down and they could get Anzac, but they're not going to get much money from them. And then they're going to take themselves right out of position if they do that. There's probably no way they can get Calcutta in 3 turns. I think the UK player would have to be drunk or asleep in order for that to happen. So in 3 turns, you're going to be okay over here. Sure, it would be nice to be able to spend 100 IPCs on each side of the board, but you don't have that. To begin the game, you only have 52 IPCs. And what I think you should do, and like I said, there's many different ways to play this game, but what I think you should do is you should spend, first of all, over here, spend the bulk of your money over here in the first couple of turns to protect yourself, to help prevent sea lion, and then you're going to have the time to put your money over there. Sure, Japan's going to get a little bit bigger, but they're going to get big anyway. You can't make it across the water over there. Even if you started putting all your money over there, it's still going to be a while before you can get over there and affect Japan. If Japan sees you building up pretty strong, then for one thing, they might not let you in the war, right? they might just keep you out until the fourth turn. But anyway, I still think that you should build in the Atlantic first, and then you know what? If Germany does go after Russia, and you don't want to play with your Americans over here, it's just a short hop to get through the canal there with the units that you bought over here, and you can take them over, and you can still go for kill Japan first. You're only putting yourself one turn behind by doing that. But what you did do was prevent an early attack on Washington or London. So C-Zone 102, let's get to that now. So what I'm thinking here, instead of the normal buy that I do, instead of that battleship, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a destroyer and a bomber, an American bomber, which is they're going to be the same amount of money. Now, let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that America doesn't get brought into the war in the first turn, that Japan does not go for a J1 attack, and the Italians don't for some reason declare war on them. So you're moving your stuff around, and here, let me just set this down. So what I would do is I would take these planes off of here, I would bring these planes over from Hawaii, okay, and then there's a destroyer here, the destroyer. Now, depending on what Japan does, depending on what they do, that's how you would decide to configure your boats here. Whether you're going to put them all down here in Hawaii, or whether you're going to move them all up here, or just what you're going to do with them. I don't know. I don't know what Japan has done. We're not. The video is not about that. So we're taking those things now. It's 3 spaces for that destroyer to move here to C-Zone 189. Then. There is also a fighter on the western United States. I'll just grab him too. I forgot to grab him. So we got that fighter from the western United States. So you can land in the water here, right? Because you bought those carriers. So we're landing 4 planes in the water. We're going to move this bomber up, and then we're going to put our stuff on. So we load up one carrier. And we load up the second carrier. And we can move our units around too if we want. We can move these up. Doesn't really matter. And we put the carrier on. We bought 4 things, and you can only put 3 on the eastern states, but as you can see here, the central United States also borders this water. So you could just say, okay, well, I'm putting this carrier on the central United States, and so there you go. There you have it. Now, we also bought a bomber. That's the second thing. And then the third thing we're putting on the eastern United States is this destroyer here. And it's important that we buy a destroyer because of all of those subs out there. Now we're hoping that by the second turn, that maybe there's only 1 sub left, you know. Like, we don't know, starting this video, what's going to happen with Germany, how many subs they're going to have left. But hopefully, any subs that survived the initial German attack on the Royal Navy was taken out by the UK on their first turn. But we don't know if that's the case or not. Okay, so that was the first buy. Now the second buy, on America's second turn, we still only have 52 IPCs, even if we were brought into war since we placed our money there, or placed our stuff last time. We still only have 52 IPCs. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to buy 2 bombers and 2 transports, thinking that these are going to go into the eastern United States, into C-Zone 101, into the eastern states. And then these 2 here I'm purchasing for the Pacific. But again, you want to take a look at what Japan is doing, what's happening over here. By now, it could be that the Germans have bought all ground units. But assuming that on the Germany's second turn, Sealion is still on the table for them. They've got the stuff that they need by the second turn to do Sealion. Then okay, so that's what we're buying. Okay, so the moves that I'm going to make, and this is where we're going to use C Zone 102. So let's just move the camera up here. Now, we can only move surface ships in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these 3 ships up like this. Now, even if they do have 1 or 2 subs, then that's why we have that destroyer in there. You don't want to expose carriers, especially when they don't have another place to land. They're not adjacent to any land territory that they could land on. But you definitely need a destroyer in there. Now you could also bring this in here if you wanted. It depends. Like maybe there's a German sub up here. If there's not though, and if there's no way that a German sub could get through here to your transports, then you can move them up here. Otherwise, you're going to want to keep them back here. So let's just say that there is no German sub that can get to you. You can move him up there. You leave the destroyer in C Zone 89, depending on what's going on. Like, are the Italians in C Zone 91 on the second turn? You know what I mean? The Germans won't be down there yet, but they could move down here on the third turn. So you could move this up here if nothing's threatening you from the south here. If nothing can get around you, then you could move this up here. But if there's a sub down here or something, then you definitely want to keep your sub down there. But you could move this in here. So there you go. And if that's the case, then you can leave this one back here. And then you put your stuff on again. So you're putting 2 bombers on the eastern United States, and you're putting 2 transports on. And then let's just say we're going to do what we wanted to do, and we're going to put these on over here. And again, I'm not going to move these around because I don't know what's going on over here. All I know is that I don't want to leave this completely till the end. You know what I mean? Like, I like to put at least a little bit in. And it's likely that if Japan is ignoring you, if they didn't go for a Pearl Harbor attack, and if they've moved all of the ships over there, then these things here are going to be up here for me. If there's no way that they have enough boats there to take me out here, then I'm going to be shucking troops down with my transport and moving the other transport back up. I've showed you that before in my American strategy video. Okay, so now why did we do this? Why did we go to C Zone 102? Well, let's move this camera up here. I want to show you. Okay, here's C Zone 110. This is where the invasion. Let's just move this transport in here and say this represents the entire German fleet. Now, if they did go for London there, look at this now. We've got these 4 planes here. They can go 1, 2, 3. See, we couldn't have done that from the eastern United States. So we've got 4 planes there. There's 3 fighters and a tactical bomber that could go in there, plus 4 bombers here. Now that's 5 spaces there, right? So they could go 6, 7 and land on Scotland. So we have 4 bombers, 3 fighters, and a tactical bomber. So if Germany does go for Sealion, then they're going to lose their entire navy, right? There's just no 2 ways about it. That should be enough planes that if they're going to build that many transports, they can't build 10 warships. There's just no way for them to do that, right? Now somebody else piped up on that thread there about C Zone 102, and what happened was, let's just move this back. What happened was the Germans went on turn 3. They went down here to Gibraltar, right? So if that happens, see, the Americans are still not at war, right? So what you can do then, if the entire German Navy is here, then you move your destroyer here, you move your ships back to here. So then you have destroyer. So that's your blocker. The Germans can't get through to the eastern United States there, right? And
They can go to Canada, but that's that brings the Americans into the war. Then they can pile a crap load of dudes on there, and we're not talking about just putting 2 guys down there in Canada. We're talking about like 6, 7, 10 transports full of units that they're putting up there, and then the Navy's going to get taken out, and the troops will eventually die off as well. If not the first turn, then for sure by the second turn, and then Germany has lost all of that money. Sure, they've kept the Americans busy for a couple of turns, but they've lost all of that money. But anyway, that's the beauty of being able to move to C Zone 102. I didn't give it much thought until somebody brought it up, and that was Gargantua there. But yeah, what a great idea though, because I was always wondering, how can you get the American fighters over there, right? There's no way that they would want to reach up there. But there you go. You just got to make sure that like if Germany has 4 subs, then that's not a good idea, because carriers don't fare well against submarines. They just don't. Well, all you need to do is hit a carrier once, and then the planes have no place to land. So definitely you want to watch out for that, right? Okay, so anyway, that's what you would do. That's only the first 2 turns. Look at, like, that's a pretty good sized Navy over here, first 2 turns. And then you've got your transports there. Turn number 3, let's say you are brought into the war by now. You've got those 3 transports. A couple of them are coming down here to Brazil. Or if Germany did go for that landing up there, you take your planes up there, and then your carriers are going to have to stop, or are going to have to come here to C Zone 104 so the planes can land on them. Well, then you're putting your transports back here, your fully loaded transports, and then they can go up 1, 2, 3 on the next turn. They can take London back, or they can try. It depends on how successful Germany was. But I don't think that the Germans would go for that. If you put this here, and if the UK did a good job of defending themselves, and then the Americans put all that stuff there, then why would you go for London then, right? And like I said, then you have your entire, or not your entire, but most of the Navy that you need over here to wage some type of war. You could go for North Africa to begin with, and eventually up to Europe, or you could move your Navy over to the Pacific. Regardless, you wouldn't need to spend a whole lot of money over here anymore. You would need to spend a little bit if you wanted to wage a good war over there. And then you're free to spend all of your income, or most of it, over here. And once you're making that 72 IPCs, then you're making a good income. And it only takes like 3-4 turns, and you're passing Japan in number of ships that you have. But just as far as I'm concerned, though, don't spend here first the bulk of your money unless you have to. If Japan does something that makes you want to come over here, then that's fine. But otherwise, I just think it's a better idea to spend early over here, spend hard over here, get it set up, because that's the more immediate threat on this side of the board. Just the short distance over there, that's what makes that a more immediate threat than that. Once you're established over here, that's when you move over here. That's when you start spending your money over here, and that's when you start building a big Navy, and then the game goes from there. I can't tell you where to go after that. There's all kinds of options. You up to C Zone 6, down to the Money Islands. There's so many options, but you got to play the game that's in front of you. I can't tell you exactly where to go from there, but it's just a matter of choosing in the beginning where to spend your money, and don't keep spending it in the same place if you're the Americans. You started there. Don't spend it for 8 turns in a row. Yeah, you will wipe out Germany, but then the game will be over. Japan will have won by then. Spend 2-3 turns over there, and then move over and start spending over here. But don't forget about the Atlantic. You're spending most of your money here, but if you can, get yourself a transport shot going over here, like I did with my American strategy video, Floating Bridge. You spend a few more dollars, and you don't have to do it all at once. You can do it here and there, and then you get that transport shot going down to C Zone 91, and most of your builds are going over here.
Um, anyway, I just wanted to say to Grasshopper, I enjoyed your video on Pearl Harbor there. I'm glad that you kind of showed that there was a path to victory from there, because that's what I was worried about. Sure, you can take Pearl Harbor, it's not a problem, but then what? What good is that going to do you? And as long as what I think anyway, the key and what he touched on was, sure, you go down to Pearl Harbor and then you leave. You just take those boats out and then you leave, and you concentrate on the Money Islands and China and Calcutta, and protecting yourself from the American fleet over here. That's what I think you should do too, if you're going to go for Pearl Harbor, or you're not going to go for Pearl Harbor. What I don't like is if you're going to go for Pearl Harbor and then you're going to stay there, or you're going to put a lot of money into holding on to Honolulu, or you're going to try to assault them, because the Americans will be able to outspend you, and you're on their side of the war now, where they have a one space or one turn to get there, and it's further for you to get over here. It's you're gonna find yourself on the losing end if you keep going that way. Taking these boats out is one thing, but then you got to get the hell out of there. So I like the way he laid out his strategy. Good job, bud. Anyway, I think that's about all the time I have today. So season 102. See if you can try to figure out a good way to use that. This is just what I was thinking, putting about an hour into it this morning and thinking about it. Maybe you come up with a better plan to use Season 102, and maybe a better plan for preventing sea lion. If you do, just let me know in the comments. Anyway, take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.